And good evening. We have developing right now the saga surrounding the Broward Sheriff growing again tonight.
A just released document raising new questions about Gregory Tony. Let's get right to Local 10 News reporter Terrell Fournay live with our top story. Terrell.
And this form, this controversy, I should say, is over a routine form that certifies if the sheriff is in compliance as a law enforcement officer. There are allegations and new questions on whether or not he was forthcoming on that form, and that could have major implications considering that he is Broward's top cop and perhaps if he actually broke the law. A lot of questions tonight over this form. True or false was the basis of a questionnaire filled out by Sheriff Gregory Tony this past January. Question number 4 on the Florida Department of Law Enforcement form asks if he had ever had a criminal record sealed or expunged. His reply, false. As reported by the Florida Bulldog, a 14-year-old Tony shot and killed a man in the 90s in his native Philadelphia. The case worked its way through the juvenile court system where records are not public and where those charges were eventually dropped. The shooting was labeled self-defense.
Is there a moral obligation to reveal this information?
When I've gone in for interviews, people don't ask me, were you ever a 14-year-old kid that survived the shooting? Interviews don't take place that way, nor is there any element on an application that says I should bring this up.
But Local 10 obtained Tony's hiring forms from the Coral Springs Police Department where he started his law enforcement career. Papers that specifically ask about a juvenile arrest or charges, and if one had ever been detained for investigative purposes as a suspect, to which he replied, no for all, raising not just ethical questions but legal ones too, considering his background checks for the road to sheriff involved official state and federal documents.
At some point, do you think that this should have been revealed?
Whether I said it in an interview or saying it right now, this is not something that I'm afraid to speak in public about.
Top brass at Coral Springs PD say had they been aware about his past, they would not have hired Tony. And so the Broward Sheriff's Office is responding in a statement just within the past 2 hours or so. They say, quote, the sheriff doesn't have a criminal record in Pennsylvania, therefore there was no record to seal or expunge, end quote. Of course, they are responding on behalf of Sheriff Tony, and they also point to a level 1 background check by the FDLE that they say raised no red flags. Now, we know that the Broward State Attorney's Office, that they are in receipt of this document. We're told that they have a copy, and they have been in touch with FDLE, but at this point, no formal investigation has been launched. Reporting live near Fort Lauderdale, I'm Terrell Fournay, Local 10 News.